So now we're going to talk about actual vinyl records. This is how it all started, this is where it all began. Basically, what we're talking about here is literally the needle on the record. The record has sound on in an analog format. Tiny little bumps and grooves on the vinyl itself are printed on. Tiny little needle here hits the bumps and grooves, bounces, and sound is transformed via amplifiers through the through the mixer to your speakers. What this means is that with vinyl there is no readout, there is no help, there are no cue points, there is no anything except the audio itself. But there is a speed control. So, to actually cue up first and foremost, you have to put the needle on the record, press go, starts to go around. When you hear the first sound, you have to manipulate it backwards and work out on your record some form of visual point. I'm going to use that black line, and you visually have to see where that's pointing when you hear your first beat. If I go back, nothing there. Back to here, there it is. If I go forward, I'm in the song. Now that line's pointing in the right place, but it's a different sound because I've gone round once. I'm a groove in, I need to come back. That's my first point. So vinyl DJing, simply queuing up is harder. But that's how you do it. To actually count in, if I have the other track playing, and I count this in, I'm still going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, but I need to bring this in on the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it still will work, assuming you've beat matched it, assuming everything else is right. Crossfader, this side, that side, volume faders, same thing. And if I make it wrong with nudging, it goes horrible again. This is how it was all invented. So that concept of nudging came from DJs pushing the song to hurry it up gently, or breaking the song to slow it down, and using this pitch control to speed up and slow down. It's so delicate because of the needle in the groove that this format takes real patience to learn and real dedication, because if you hit it wrong, and I'm going to do it, yeah, I will do it to my own record. If I hit this a bit heavy-handed, you'll probably see the needle jump ever so slightly. I've now not just risked damaging the groove in the vinyl and therefore the music, but I've moved where I am. Hopefully you heard that. I don't want to do it too much, but hopefully you heard we were in beat, it was moving, it got a knock, it changed. So the dance floor has to change because of that. It's your job as the DJ using these to make sure that doesn't happen at all, because you want people to be able to keep dancing. Okay, wonderful. So that was real vinyl, except the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed it wasn't really. What I did there was demonstrate how real vinyl works. But in fact, this is not real vinyl, believe it or not. This is what we call time code vinyl. I promise you what I demonstrated is how real vinyl works, but what this vinyl does is actually control the same Serato DJ software we were using on the Mixtrack digital setups. What this means is that these days, DJs who look like they're using vinyl can actually have all the help with digital BPM counters, cue points and visual displays that we had on the Mixtrack video. That means some DJs you're watching who look like they're old school and using vinyl are cheating, but it also means some DJs you're watching who are using vinyl are just using the absolute cutting edge of technology, which means they can do everything all at once. So just to show you what I mean, the same thing, it is a needle in a groove and it is fragile, but as well as lining it up, I can use the cue points On screen you can see I've lined up on that cue point, so instead of having to find the point on the record where the music starts, I can tell the record where I want it to start, and then I could jump to that point, which makes it far quicker and easier to start manipulating your music because you've got the digital help, but doesn't stop me manipulating it with the vinyl platter. The benefit of the vinyl platter being, because it's bigger and because old DJs like me learnt all our techniques on vinyl, we can actually do much more interesting and delicate scratches simply because of the size of the platter. Now if I come over to this side, again I can browse. If you have a look at the screen, I can browse, I can do everything I could do on the mix track, but I am using the big platters. So if I load this up here, what I've got here is a set of scratch sounds. Hopefully you saw that very briefly. Couple of sounds. Basically, because it's bigger, I can do tiny movements on this that are incredibly precise for the sound on here, which if I was using the mix track, because the platter's smaller, if I move my fingers that far here, I'm moving so far on there, but if I move the fingers that far on the mix track, I'm moving this far on here. It's literally a resolution issue. Older chaps like me as well, we're more used to this format, we feel it's better. And amongst other factors, because it's actually got an engine underneath it spinning the disc, it's a two-way process. You're not just cold touching a pad, you're literally feeling it give back to you. As I push forward, I feel it wanting to take me away. As I bring it back, I feel as soon as I let go, it wants to move with me. But I mentioned cheating, and so it's only fair to talk about the other function which really does set DJs apart, and it's this big doozy here, sync. Now all it does is match the numbers for you automatically. Literally, that's all it does. So in certain cases, if you've already planned out a small routine and you know you want to be fast, press sync, it just saves you a bit of time. In other cases where DJs haven't learned how to beat match by ear or aren't doing anything musical and are just pressing sync, it means that they don't really know what they're doing, but worse, they end up sounding like each other because they can't apply any kind of individual taste or ear to it. They could choose different songs, fine, but they can't choose for their beats to be ever so slightly laid back or ever so slightly pushy. So at DJ School UK, we avoid using sync unless we're using 3 or 4 songs within a minute. And even then, we prefer people to learn how to do it without using sync, because live performance relies on organic feel and actual performance. The key of the word is performance. Now, there's a blurry line here because we also really respect the people doing Ableton mashups and live production. Bands like Orbital, Prodigy, other people who use sequencers, and obviously theirs is all synchronized using MIDI. But the way we look at it, they've actually developed their own sounds, which is different to a DJ who's playing recorded music. So although there's a whole spectrum of DJ abilities, we really think it's best to learn how to express yourself and make sure you are expressing yourself in whatever you're doing. Whether you're using the turntable as an instrument, whether you're playing someone else's song, or whether you're playing your own production. You should recognize whether you're an artist being expressive or whether you're a jukebox getting paid to play what people ask you to do. That's kind of where we draw the blurry line.